Live in studio with us now is the man who's made both those records possible, Mr. Chris Knight. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. It's great to see you. Welcome back to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
It's always good to talk to you, and always great to hear you sing. And tonight, of course, a big show down at the absolutely awesome Bijou Theater. We've been talking about it on the way over here. It's a great theater and kind of a night of singer-songwriters, if you will. Scott Miller here in Knoxville, one of our own, Sugar Hill recording artists, going to be headlining. Chris Knight going to be opening up tonight. Tickets are still available at all Tickets Unlimited outlets, and at the door they'll have them this evening too. It'll start up at about 8 o'clock, and if you've never seen a show at the Bijou Theater, tonight is a great place to start, because this is two fine singer-songwriters on stage in what is an absolutely great venue. Man, you've been kind of busy, I guess, haven't you? You've kind of released an older record, and you know, this one, Enough Rope, still isn't that old, I guess you could say. But how's it been going for you?
Been going good. Been doing a lot of shows, doing a lot of acoustic solo stuff this year.
Yeah.
Had a few band shows, but I've done 60 or 70 shows on my own this year.
Keeps you busy, keeps you on the road. Yeah. Do you prefer either or? Is it just?
I kind of get ready to do some solo stuff after I've been out with a band for a while, and vice versa.
Right.
I'm about ready to crank the band up now.
I hear you, man. Yeah. Does it give you a chance when you're on the road by yourself to write a little bit more as well?
Yeah, a little bit.
Been doing that some?
Some, yeah.
How are things in Slaughters, Kentucky?
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, is that on the western part of the Commonwealth, Kentucky?
It's about 80 miles east of Land Between the Lakes.
Okay, yeah. Beautiful area up there. Yeah. You do a lot of songwriting up there, I'm sure, back tucked away. And you're not really in Slaughters proper, I guess.
I'm in the suburbs. Yeah, I'm out in the sticks, out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you in Knoxville tonight, man. I know you got a lot of fans in this town, and as we were talking a little bit earlier, you're definitely going to be in front of a lot of folks tonight that are fans of Scott Miller's. There'll be some fans of yours there, but I think a lot of folks are going to walk out of there tonight. They're going to be new fans of Chris Knight, because I think you and Scott, there's a lot of similarities there of the way you write, the way you perform on stage as well. And, man, when I heard you were going to be opening this show tonight, you know, the show just got a lot better, and a Scott Miller show around here is a darn good show anyway. So we're tickled to have you, and while I've got you here and you've got the Git Box strung up and tuned up and ready to go, can we go ahead and get a song from you?
Yeah, I imagine.
What you going to do?
So I do a song called Rural Route.
Oh, this is a good one. Chris Knight live in studio, 90.3 The Rock, UTTV, The Rock Unplugged, and again tonight live at the Bijou Theater. Go ahead, man.
I built a fire up on the hill, sat in the woods, drank my fill, talked to God all night. Took another shot and set me right, then I walked down to the road, filled a beer can full of 22 holes, and I said goodbye. Yeah, I said goodbye. Well, I go back, but I can't go home. The river's up and the road is closed, and there ain't no telephone at my mother's house, and all the lights are out down on the rural route. Ain't much or nothing left. This place where I became myself goes to memory. I walk on by, but to follow me, I seen Penny on down the road, asking me if they seen my brother. He just said no. Well, guess I better go. And I go back, but I can't go home. The river's up and the road is closed, and there ain't no telephone at my mother's house, and all the lights are out down on the rural route. Sang the only verse I know of Amazing Grace. And I go back, but I can't go home. The river is up and the road is closed. And there ain't no telephone at my mother's house. And all the lights are out down on the rural route.
That's great stuff, man.
Thanks.
Chris Knight live in the studio from the CD Enough Rope. It's called Rural Route, and you can pick this up, I'm sure, at all your finer CD stores. And I'd say tonight you'll have some merchandise for folks at the Bijou, won't you?
Yeah, I've got some T-shirts, hats, and some CDs.
Cool.
Gonna be selling now.
And it will be a fine show again, 8 o'clock tonight. This man right here, Chris Knight, opening up for Scott Miller, and solo performances from both artists. And by the way, this is not the Christopher Knight that you know better as Peter Brady. This is Christopher Knight from the Commonwealth of Kentucky that writes a mean song like you just heard right there. Let's talk a little bit about this new, if you will, I guess I'll call it new. It's a new release, but the music on it was recorded, I guess, back in 1996, and that's the Trailer Tapes record, man.
Right. Yeah.
What a great record. Now, I think three of the songs off the album have been featured on some follow-up records. Tell us the story about that. I know some folks kind of said or compared it to like Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska album that he recorded in his kitchen, basically, and it was just basically him and a guitar and harmonica and whatnot, and a lot of great songs. How'd the Trailer Tapes come to be?
Well, I'd signed with Decca Records for my first record deal, and hadn't had any recordings out, and we were basically just recording as many songs as me and my producer and engineer thought that I might want to record.
Yeah.
And we were actually doing it as pre-production, but we went up to Kentucky. And, we just wanted to get it down.
Yep.
We went up to where I lived, up to my trailer, and recorded a bunch of stuff. And we went down to Barkley Lake and recorded some stuff. And
Kind of got that
home. Several days of recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a home field advantage, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling real good about it. And now it's seeing the light of day. Is it? Did you purposely wait this long to get that stuff out, or is it something that it was just time for the folks to be able to get a piece of that too, or would it just happen that way?
Well, when we were doing this recording, I think there was possibly a clause in my contract to where I could kind of maybe do something like this.
Yeah.
And I think Frank Liddell, who produced the record, kind of had it in the back of his mind that this might be something that people wanted to hear one of these days if I caught on.
Yeah.
So, I hadn't heard it in 10 years, and my manager had been talking to me about putting it out, and I didn't have much interest in it.
Yeah.
But, it kind of took on a life of its own. People were bootlegging it, and
Yeah.
one day I thought, well, what the hell?
If it's out there, you might as well make a penny off of it.
On the action.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I was talking to your manager, Rick Alter, I guess, talking with him the other day, and thanks to him and thanks to Al Moss as well, who's quite a character, I tell you, and a good guy, and they helped set this whole interview up. Was talking with Rick the other day, and he said that it's kind of interesting because, of course, Enough Rope, the record here, was the one that was released before the Trailer Tapes. But he said since the Trailer Tapes have been released and taken on a life of its own, it's kind of re-interjected, I guess, some life into this record as far as like the Americana charts and everything. So maybe, you know, you kind of lead a horse to water slowly. Maybe that's what the trailer tapes have done with some people who didn't know who you were.
It's still going on, man. I mean, I talked to 2 or 3 people last night that were coming down to the show in Somerset, and because somebody had told them that they ought to come see my show, and they were like, I had no idea who you were, never heard you before tonight. But
yeah.
You know, I'm a fan for life.
That's how the best things usually happen, and
it's been that way ever since I started. It's just it's a slow process, but it was enough happening.
Yeah.
That I knew I needed to keep on doing it.
Right. Well, like I said tonight, I think it's going to happen on a large scale, because you're going to have a lot of folks. You're going to be fishing in a stock pond tonight, man. There's a lot of folks in that house tonight that I think are going to, if they've not heard you yet, are going to dig everything they hear tonight coming from you on stage. Well, let's talk a little bit about when you did get started. You know, I know you were interested in music in your preteen years and kind of in your teenager years. Your older brother, I think, picked up a guitar or got a guitar and brought it home, and from there you learned how to play guitar and kind of fell in love with John Prine stuff more than just about any, didn't you? I mean, who's just, you know, I mean, I'm sure he delivered mail quite fine too, but there's not many that can write a song like him and deliver it. A guy who used to be a postman in Chicago and is now, I think, one of America's greatest singers and songwriters. Did you just stumble upon John, or I mean, and he's one when you hear him, I mean, if it doesn't affect you, there's something wrong.
My brother, he hung out with a lot of guys who played guitar.
Yeah.
And they had, you know, they had been turned on to different kinds of music, you know, and my brother had a huge album collection, you know, of all these singer-songwriters and rock and roll and folk. And I was like 13 years old, you know, and I started listening to John Prine. And I started playing guitar 2 years later. But, yeah, I grew up on all that 70s singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah. It's good to have brothers like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
With record collectors. I had one just the same, man. And, well, if he come home and there was a fingerprint on one of those albums, he knew where to come find, who to come looking for. But he was, I mean, he was real specific about that, and still owns a lot of those great records today. And thank goodness folks like John Prine are still making great records today too, man. And what a guy that's had such an influence on I know Scott Miller's a big John Prine fan, and you, and I mean, you could go just down a list of people, and that guy's still making. In fact, his latest record he cut with Mac Wiseman, I think, which is kind of neat. Prine and Mac Wiseman doing a record together. Looking a little bit, you know, your career, I guess, has really been going now since the late 90s, really. Framed was released, I think, as a single in 97, and then your debut in 98, I guess, wasn't it, pretty much? And you've had the taste of Nashville, and I know I think I've heard real recently, there's one of the Nashville acts, if you will, I think has recorded a tune of yours or maybe shopped it to him or whatever, but it just seems like there's definitely, you know, there's some appeal down there in Nashville, but for folks like you, for folks like Scott Miller and a lot of others I talk to, it's good to visit, but you're not sure you want to live there. Is that kind of how you feel about Nashville?
Well, I can't say anything bad about Nashville. I never gave any thought to moving down there, but I had a lot of I've still got a lot of good relationships down there, and I've had